At the beginning of the story, we meet a boy named Lee. He's deaf and mute. He can't hear and speak. Because of this, he doesn't enjoy spending time with the other kids at school. He can't understand what they're saying, and he can't follow what's being taught in class either. He often feels completely alone. That's why his parents decide to enroll him in a special school for the hearing-impaired, a place where all the other kids are just like him. Today is Lee's first day at his new school, and this is where we're introduced to Teacher Wang, one of the teachers at the deaf school. Teacher Wang is a genuinely kind person. He really cares about the deaf children, and he can communicate with them using sign language. Soon, Lee arrives at the school. As he sees the other kids laughing and playing so joyfully, Lee's heart fills with happiness. Here, everyone is like him, so he'll finally be able to talk to others and make friends. That night, the school hosts a musical light show. All the kids join in, dancing happily. Suddenly, Lee's eyes catch sight of a girl, dancing all by herself in the crowd, completely lost in her own world. Her name is Minsu, and from the moment Lee sees her, he seems completely captivated. The next day, on the way to school, Lee can't take his eyes off Minsu as they ride the bus. At one point on the road, they pass by a group rehearsing a play. Minsu lights up with excitement as she watches. That night, Lee couldn't fall asleep, so he picked up his phone. But there was no network. He put on his hearing device. With it, he can pick up the sounds around him. As he walked through the corridor, he suddenly heard a faint sound coming from one of the rooms. It sounded like someone crying. There was also a flickering flashlight shining from inside. Curious, Lee slowly started walking toward the room. Just then, Minsu turned on her flashlight and waved at him. She led him to sit beside the school's swimming pool. There, she told Lee, "There's free Wi-Fi here." Lee replied that he had noticed some strange things in the storage room earlier. Minsu casually said, "Oh, that's nothing. They're just playing in there." Lee was a bit puzzled. Playing? This late at night? Then Minsu stepped into the pool and told him, "This summer, I'm going to learn how to swim." They ended up spending a long time together by the water. The next morning, on the way to school, Lee noticed that the same play rehearsal was happening again on the street. It was something Minsu really loved, so he wanted to show it to her, but he couldn't find her anywhere. Her bag was still on the bus, but she was gone. Worried, Lee started looking for her. As he reached the back of the bus, he witnessed something deeply disturbing. A group of boys from school were surrounding Minsu in a way that made her visibly uncomfortable and scared. Lee froze in fear. One of the boys, named Jihan, noticed Lee and gestured for him to remain silent. The whole incident left Lee shaken and overwhelmed. That very day, he left school and went straight home. He locked himself in his room and lay down. But the memory of what he saw kept haunting him. During dinner, his mom asked him, "So how was your new school? Did you make any new friends?" Lee couldn't speak. He simply nodded, pretending everything was fine. The next day at school, Lee was even more shocked. He saw Minsu laughing and playing with the very same boys who had made her so uncomfortable just the night before. There wasn't even a trace of anger on her face. Teacher Wang gently encouraged Lee to join the others and play. But Lee, full of confusion and rage, stormed off. Minsu noticed. That night, a group of boys dragged Lee to the back near the storage room, and it was all happening under Jihan's orders. Jihan was one of the senior students at the school and basically the leader of the group. He told the boys to make Lee play with them. Lee was terrified. Just then, an alarm suddenly started ringing. Everyone panicked and ran back to their rooms. It was Minsu who had set off the alarm. She knew something bad was about to happen to Lee. Later, the two of them met again by the swimming pool. Lee looked at her and asked, "What happened on the bus yesterday?" Minsu responded softly, "They were just messing around." Lee replied, "Whatever that was, it didn't feel right at all." He couldn't understand. How could Minsu still be so cheerful, playing soccer with them like nothing happened? Minsu told him, "I didn't like what happened on the bus either, but most of the time, they treat me kindly." Her words left Lee feeling uneasy. It was as if something so upsetting was being brushed aside as if it didn't matter. Lee tells Minsu that they should inform a teacher, but Minsu quietly shakes her head. "There's no point," she says. "If I say anything, they'll all turn against me. I'll have no one left." She turns to Lee and says, "You should just try to get along with them too." Lee, frustrated, replies, "What if one day they drag me to the back of the bus?" Minsu replies helplessly, "Then so what? You can join them and do the same thing to me." Her words leave Lee shocked and confused. The next morning, Lee didn't even want to get on the school bus. Teacher Wang noticed and gently asked, "Why didn't you take the bus today?" Unable to hold it in any longer, Lee found the courage to speak. He told Teacher Wang about everything he had seen. Wang was deeply disturbed by what he heard. Later, Lee brought Minsu to talk to the teacher, but Minsu didn't say a word. She stayed silent, unsure what to believe or whom to trust. Why won't she speak? Wang wondered. Why does she still think those kids are her friends? He kept asking gently, "Tell me what happened." "I just want to help," Minsu softly said. "I don't have anything to complain about." But the look on her face said otherwise. Wang spoke kindly but firmly. "If you stay silent, no one will know. But if you tell the truth, someone might finally listen." Finally, Minsu opened up. "When they hurt me, it really hurt. I wanted to scream for help, but no one could hear me. That day on the bus, it was the first time something like that happened." She revealed that a few classmates had behaved inappropriately with her, crossing clear boundaries. The bus had been full, but no one said anything. She had once spoken to a teacher, Miss Dawn, but Miss Dawn had dismissed her concerns, saying, "They were just playing. Maybe they didn't know it made you uncomfortable." Teacher Wang was stunned. How could a teacher say that? Minsu had kept it all to herself because she was afraid. Afraid that if her grandparents found out, they'd never let her return to school. She had no parents, only her grandparents. But Teacher Wang didn't ignore the truth. He went directly to the principal and reported it all. He asked, how could this go on for so long, especially when someone was supposed to monitor the school bus? The principal tried to downplay the situation. She said, "This is a delicate matter. If the family finds out, they'll panic, and the school might be blamed." But Wang firmly responded, "If something truly serious happened, ignoring it would be wrong." He then went to Minsu's home and informed her grandparents. They were heartbroken. Thanks to his actions, the school finally began an internal investigation. The accused students were brought in one by one. One boy was asked, "Why did you act that way?" He replied, "I didn't mean to hurt anyone. I thought it was just a game." Wang pressed him. "What kind of game was that?" The boy went silent, then wrote on a paper, "It happened to me too. I didn't know what I was doing was wrong." Another boy named Bowery responded angrily, "Took you this long to notice? Have you all been blind?" Then he said, "Since 4th grade, I've been going through things I never understood." It hurt, in my mind and in my heart. One by one, every student was questioned, and a grim truth began to surface. It wasn't just a few students. Nearly 127 students, both boys and girls, had been hurt or mistreated in some form during their time at the school. Even more shocking, some of those who were once victims later repeated the same behavior with others. One name kept coming up, Jihan. When Jihan was questioned, he flatly denied everything. "I never forced anyone," he said. Then the teacher asked, "Why did you tell others to do it then? Were you ever treated that way by someone older?" Jihan smiled and replied, "No one ever dared touch me. They were scared of me. I was just having fun." That cold, heartless smile left Teacher Wang deeply disturbed. Because of one student's influence, so many others had suffered, and tragically, many of those harmed ended up repeating the same cycle. Afterward, Jihan's parents were informed of the serious situation, but despite the gravity of the issue, the school principal still failed to take meaningful action. The very next day, Lee was cornered and beaten by Jihan and some other boys, angry because his statement had triggered the investigation. Meanwhile, Minsu's grandparents, deeply worried, took her back home. Later, she messaged Lee, asking to meet. They went to watch a movie together to feel a bit normal again. But there, a misunderstanding with some other viewers left them flustered. Neither of them could express themselves clearly, and they left without watching the film. "I don't belong out there," Minsu said. People don't understand us. I always feel out of place. That's why I want to go back to school. Teacher Wang tried to reason with her, but it might not be safe yet. Minsu quietly replied, I'm alone out there. I have no friends. At school, my old friends are still there. If only that bad experience on the bus hadn't happened, I could have a pretty good time. From her words, it was clear how hard it is for a deaf child to live normally in society. After hearing this, Wang spoke with Minsu's grandfather, trying to convince him to let her return to school. But the grandfather hesitated. What if something terrible happens again? He asked. I can't take that risk. His fear was understandable, but heartbreaking. Lee, however, was determined. He went to Minsu's house and pleaded with her grandfather, please let her come back. I promise to look out for her. At that moment, Lee's hearing device accidentally fell off. He couldn't hear anything and stumbled into a nearby cart. The vendor yelled at him, confused, until Minsu's grandfather stepped in. Lee looked up and said with determination, I'll protect her. I won't let anything bad happen to her. Finally, the grandfather agreed, but with one condition: Minsu would no longer stay in the school hostel. She would attend from home. She was overjoyed to return. Lee stayed by her side, always watching out for her. Teacher Wang even took it upon himself to escort her safely from school each day. But one day, as Lee was saying goodbye to Minsu after school, a group of boys dragged him into a storage room. Inside, they were intimidating another boy, Bowery. Jihan told Lee, You're going to follow orders now. He hinted that if Lee did what they said, Minsu would remain safe from harm. Overwhelmed and frightened, Lee gave in under pressure. Unknown to them, the entire event was secretly recorded by another student. Tragically, the incident deeply affected both Lee and Bowery, leaving lasting emotional scars. Later, Jihan received an anonymous message that visibly shook him, perhaps a reminder of his own past. As news of the ongoing issues at the school began to spread, the media caught wind of it. The next day, during a teacher's retirement ceremony, Jihan left the event and broke down emotionally, crying and screaming, as if something within him had finally cracked. Meanwhile, Lee had left Minsu alone for a short while. When he returned, he found her crying in the washroom. Shocked and panicked, Lee took her to Teacher Wang. This time, Minsu told him everything, bravely and clearly. She revealed that Jihan himself had brutally abused her that day. Hearing this, Wang was devastated, unable to understand what to do next. He went to the principal, but the principal told him, These things don't get fixed overnight, they take time. We have already started installing cameras in the school. Security in the bathrooms is being increased to keep the children safe. But none of the principal's words comforted Wang. Meanwhile, unable to control his anger, Lee violently beat Jihan. He demanded to know why Jihan did what he did. Lee had heard everything. Yet Jihan still hurt Minsu. Lee kept hitting him, unable to hold back his fury. The next day, Minsu said, Maybe Jihan just couldn't control himself. When Jihan did that to me yesterday, he didn't feel any joy. He was actually crying. Hearing this, Lee became very angry and said, Minsu doesn't realize just how bad Jihan really is. Meanwhile, Teacher Wang examined Jihan's school records and found out that Jihan was a very good student academically, but he had a very stubborn personality. At the same time, Jihan attempted suicide out of despair and pain and was admitted to the hospital. Wang visited him in the hospital and asked, Why did you try to take your own life, and why did you treat Minsu that way? Jihan replied, I was just playing with her. Lee shouted in anger, Did you enjoy it? Did you find joy in trying to end your own life? Is this just a game to you? Jihan said nothing and sat silently. At the same time, the school principal received a troubling video. It showed the incident involving Lee and Bowery. Shocked, the principal showed it to Lee's mother. She was devastated. Lee tried to explain, I didn't do it willingly. I was blackmailed. But his mother couldn't process it. She asked him to transfer schools. Lee resisted. He didn't want to run away. I want to stay. I want to fix this, he said. But his mother's words cut deep. No one will ever forget what happened. Hurt, Lee finally opened up to her. How he had always felt neglected, how she constantly compared him to other children, and how he had never felt truly accepted. Meanwhile, Minsu spoke with Bowery. From him, she learned the full truth. that Lee had only been dragged into everything because he was trying to protect her. Hearing this broke her. She felt like it was all her fault, that if she weren't there, none of this would have happened. Without telling anyone, Minsu went to a shady clinic, convinced that if she took away her ability to become a mother, no one would need to worry about her safety ever again. She messaged Lee, "I've made sure I can protect myself now. You don't have to suffer anymore because of me." Terrified, Lee and teacher Wang rushed to find her, but in their panic, Lee was in an accident and lost consciousness. When he woke up, he asked about Minsu. Wang said, "We found her just in time. The clinic was unlicensed and unsafe. Thankfully, nothing was done, but she's unconscious." Lee was crushed. The emotional weight of everything finally pushed him to the edge. He took a hammer and went into Jihan's dorm room, destroying everything in sight. The other students, seeing Lee like this, were stunned and afraid. Wang knew something had to change. He spoke to the principal and arranged for Jihan to be expelled. The following day, 2 of Lee's classmates came to him with a video. It revealed something shocking: Jihan's own past. The video showed that Jihan had been attending the school since 4th grade. His older sister, a non-verbal student, had also studied there. One day, she was targeted and mistreated by a group of teachers. She couldn't speak, couldn't explain herself, and no one believed her. The abuse continued for years. Jihan had witnessed everything. He had tried to report it to the principal, but nothing was done. Instead, he was silenced and then targeted himself. Over time, the pain twisted him. His trauma turned into rage. After his sister passed away and some teachers quietly left, Jihan began to hurt others the same way he had been hurt, as if replaying the past on others who had nothing to do with it. Lee shared everything with teacher Wang. Wang confronted the principal. "If you had acted back then, when the first complaints came, this cycle could have ended. How many lives could have been spared?" He asked, "Do you even know sign language? Have you ever really listened to the students? Or have you just protected your school's reputation?" Eventually, the horrifying truth came out. The principal had stayed silent, not out of ignorance, but out of fear. Worse, she had accepted money to keep quiet. Wang didn't remain silent. He reported everything to the authorities and the media. In the end, justice caught up. The principal was removed from her position, and strict action was taken against the teachers and everyone involved. Wang returned to Jihan and said gently, "I know the whole truth now. Those teachers responsible have been held accountable." Hearing this, Jihan finally broke down in tears. All the pain and silence he had carried inside. Teacher Wang had given voice to it. He thanked Wang through his tears, and Wang himself couldn't hold back his own. Jihan confessed softly, "I've done terrible things. Sometimes I don't think I deserve a second chance." Wang comforted him, reminding him that healing is possible for everyone. Soon after, Minsu woke from her coma. The 2 friends went together to watch a play, their smiles genuine and full of hope. The school bus they rode on was now a place of safety. No more hidden harms disguised as games, neither on the bus nor at school. Instead, a caring and healthy friendship had grown among all the students. This story is inspired by real events at a school for the hearing-impaired in Taiwan, where many students suffered in silence for years. If this story moved you, let us know in the comments. See you in the next video.